Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Zelda Speedruns. We have today a matchup, losers bracket round 3 of the Skyward Sword any percent tournament between Zeldz08 and PippyinaTopHat. Joined here today by Andy and Your Average Link. How are you two doing?
Hello, I'm doing
good. I'm also doing alright.
Alright, I will hand it over to the two of you and we will get this race underway.
So, as Cubby mentioned, so this is WingClash, the any percent tournament. This is loser bracket round, as Cubs mentioned. Two runners you'll both notice are playing on Japanese, because it saves a lot of time on text. And
a lot being like 2 minutes. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely not as much as it used to be, which is good, more accessible for people who don't have Japanese. But it still feels a lot better in my opinion, especially like the first part on Skyloft. So much slower in English. And there used to be version exclusive glitches for the English version in the run, but now we don't do that part. So.
We're just starting.
And we're off. You also notice they're playing on hero mode because that means they can skip cutscenes, and it also means they take double damage, which is good for a glitch, and it is required for the last trick in the run, so pretty useful mode. Anyway, we're going to talk to Fledge. You don't have to do this normally, but it's going to be helpful later on. Like, he has some connections in the Farron region, let's say. We just needed to know that industry secret. I think he actually just says stuff that, I'm sad I couldn't do the wing ceremony, but I'll cheer you on, so good luck.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a surprise tool. I really like how Pippi put it one time when I commentated with her. This run is like a bunch of Chekhov's guns. There's a lot of stuff that seems innocuous, but it'll be very important later on, so be patient. So Horrible's going to talk to us about how to play. Yeah, going to talk to us about how to play the game, despite the fact that he even acknowledges we're on hero mode. We must have already... Ooh. Yeah, so that jump... There's a text trigger normally where Horwell's like, hey! And then he's like, get back here, I need to tell you something. But you can jump past it.
Yeah, you see Pippi just hit the text trigger, but you can jump diagonally right there just to jump past it directly onto the railing.
Because we're going to save this rimlet. Again, you don't normally have to do this, but... you know... Chekhov's gun, must have loved rimlets, must have loved predicted Fledge, all this stuff, however many years ago. Anyway, now we're going to finally prepare the staple trick in this run.
We're going to see it just a few times, just a couple.
Yeah. If you're familiar with Twilight Princess, it's the same glitch, but you perform it a different way and it's a lot more powerful. Ooh, Zeld's taking a fall there. Okay. He's got plenty of health. I think he should hopefully know now to go to the goddess statue. It's the next part. Maybe some nunchuck issues? It's alright. Got one more try. Wow, Pippi's making the same mistake.
Yeah, it seems to be a really common mistake today. It's kind of unfortunate.
Oh.
Taking a death. That's...
A death 3 minutes
That's
in.
okay, though. He did just save, so he'll just
and Pippi did get saved from fall damage there, so now she'll get a second try. Alright, Zeldz, it looks like, reset the run. Only 3 minutes in. Okay, hooray. Finally done with the jokes that we have to make every time. So this is back in time. if you die and continue and reset your console at the same time, you will respawn on the title screen with control of Link, and there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with this. So first, those gates are closed, but it's okay. For some reason, if you void out close enough, you'll just end up on the other side.
Yeah, and this is why this glitch is so powerful right here, basically. He's going to be saving while he's back in time. And the fact that we're able to save and manipulate our files while having controlled Link lets you do some crazy stuff in the run.
Yeah, like, Back in Time was discovered, like, I think about a month into this game's lifespan, and general meddling with your save files by saving Back in Time has been a thing for a while, but in the past few years we've discovered a lot more powerful things you can do with it. So you'll notice Zeldz is picking up, entering the goddess statue, because fortunately that is open on this like title screen Skyloft. Pick up the goddess sword, strike this crest, and basically we're going to enter this cutscene. Like, normally after you do all the stuff on Skyloft, you go follow Fi, you get the goddess sword, put this emerald tablet in, and you get this cutscene. It turns out near the end of this cutscene, the game will set the value in memory that you have fair and accessible. So if you start your file in Back in Time just before that happens, the game will set the value, but on your real file. So there's a lot of powerful things we can do, taking values from Back in Time onto a regular file. And earlier in this sequence, we saved, and that put us on this title screen Skyloft, so we can enter the goddess statue a lot earlier, get the goddess sword a lot earlier. So yeah, now we have the goddess sword. You might have noticed we had to pick it up a second time because, while yes, Zeldz did pick up the goddess sword, that was in Back in Time, and unless you perform the trick, which is called reverse bit magic, unless you perform that trick for like one specific flag, anything that happens in Back in Time stays in Back in Time.
Yeah,
it's
so
like its own separate file.
So it'll save the fact that he raised the pillar and stuff, because he did the RBM for that, but everything before that basically didn't happen.
Yeah, and reverse bit magic is the trick that I talked about. It's just whenever you start your file in Back in Time and perform an action after starting your file, because the game, whenever you start your file, it loads in the flags for that one more time. Probably it's just a sanity check. However, that happens like immediately when you start your file, and if you do something in the fade out between starting your file and loading into the game, you can set the memory and like keep it. It doesn't get lost. So now you have whatever flag was set there anywhere. And yeah, if the game didn't perform that sanity check, this probably would have been one of the first and weirdest things that would have been found, because if you did a lot of actions in Back in Time, it would save everything there, and they'd all be on your file, and you'd see a bunch of random cutscenes or whatever.
Yeah, so unfortunately because of that, that means we can only do one thing at a time in Back in Time like that.
Yeah, there are a few exceptions. Like, there was once an old, the old All Dungeons route set both a scene flag in Lanayru Desert to open the mining facility and the story progress flag of having the Gate of Time open, just because there is a delay between those two happening, but they're close together. But in general, you can only do one thing at a time. So we're also entering and exiting this house. It'll be important later. Because for some reason, entering that house for the first time sets a value in memory. Actually, I think it's because, yeah, like afterwards...
the text prompt on the door.
Yeah, it's like...
Yeah.
Kukiel's house. It'll show up next time, but...
Yeah, it doesn't show that before you enter it for the first time, though.
But normally by this point, in terms of time in the run, if you're doing like a no-bit speedrun, you would be chasing Fi right now, almost getting ready to leave. We spend a lot of extra time on Skyloft in this route just because there's a lot to set up for future tricks. Also going to take some damage in the waterfall cave because after the next section we'll want to do back in time again, and it helps to be on low health. So next, after saving and copying over to the empty files slot, because we're going to want to be in this location later on after the next back in time trick. So it's important that this file exists on file 3.
Yeah.
Because like
one of the tricks... Put it on file 2, anyway.
And now we're going to save the Loftwing.
Unless you're X.
Yeah, unless you're X. Yeah, now we're going to save the Loftwing. Very important. Essentially what we're trying to set up is we need a way to get off of Skyloft while in back in time, because there are very powerful flags accessible in Farron that we can only get if we can enter the sky in back in time.
Yeah.
So the Loftwing is going to be necessary, but we also can't have like the tunic, I believe, because that will just crash. We need to be on a very specific... We need to be in this tutorial in back in time, but
otherwise,
first we have to get the Loftwing for real.
Crash.
Yeah. First we just have to get this far for real, because we can't really go anywhere without the Loftwing. But just doing the tutorial, you can't really make this any faster. You just have to go through the text.
After the tutorial here, there's a trick that's coming up called the Wing Ceremony Cutscene Skip. There's going to be a save prompt on screen. There is a 2-frame window after the save prompt where you can side hop out of the cutscene, and then you go die to perform back in time. There is a backup, but it loses some time, so we'll see if both of these guys get it.
Yeah, it's not usually the end of the world if you miss it. I know in older routes, one before we knew about this barrel backup, but even before that, like when you had to do the wing ceremony,
getting it.
When you had to do the wing ceremony, it was really bad because
you can't just like leave the cutscene and
yeah. Got the side hop, good, and we're gonna die. Do more back in time.
Pippy about to also attempt it.
Ooh. It's not what you want to see.
She's gonna do. She's gonna load file 3, and there's some barrels right next to the Loftwing that you can use to dive. Unfortunately, some time lost, but it's not too bad.
Yeah, you might think, well, the waterfall cave's right there, and there are some enemies, so why don't we just do back in time there? But for some reason, you can't do back in time in the waterfall cave. I think there's some weird respawn state. But yeah, so using these barrels is just the next fastest alternative. Because, shocker, the developers wanted to make it so you wouldn't be accidentally dying on the tutorial area.
Zeldz is now going to do, it's called a reverse bit warp. It's going to start the file right before he enters this load zone right here. And this is going to load our actual file, but it's going to put him where the load zone would have taken him, which is the sky.
Yeah, and then also part of this was a file dupe, so that's why we needed the copy on file 3. And if you were particularly astute at the start, you'd notice, well, actually I don't think it was shown, but you wouldn't notice that file 2 was also a hero mode file. Because hero mode, well, for some reason it interacts differently with the reverse bit warp than a regular file. But anyway,
for some reason,
it takes the
when
values.
you do it with a regular file, it takes the coordinates of the statue or something, and so you just end up in an infinite void out. But with a hero mode file, it doesn't, so you just spawn at the default spawn location. Oh, Zeld's accidentally killing the Gwei.
Yeah, so the whole purpose of this is we have the story progression of file 3. However, we're in like the sky. We're in the sky layer. Like, this is the part intentionally, like, after you get the tunic, you're about ready to go on your journey and stuff. In fact, that Phi text that we got is supposed to be a Phi pointing out the Farron pillar in the sky.
Yeah.
And the point of that is now we have the ability to dive off the Loftwing, but we're also kind of backwards in story progression, so this is the file that can do the cool back-in-time stuff.
Yeah, and the reason it took us back here is because this is the last spot we saved. So now we have the ability to dive, and we're about to enter the Loftwing tutorial. So now we're going to be able to dive during the Loftwing tutorial. And since we set the Farron pillar to be open at the beginning, you can dive out of the Loftwing tutorial and into the Farron pillar.
Yeah, it's like, for 1, you're not supposed to be able to dive during this, and for 2, you're not supposed to have the pillar. So we're just kind of breaking the rules, just jumping right out of the tutorial to enter Farron for the first time. So after getting sufficient height and flying forward, so there's actually an invisible, like, box in the tutorial to make sure you don't fly too far, but this only applies to the Loftwing. So if you dive off, you can go wherever, as far as you can land.
Yeah, as long as you can reach it by diving. So we're going to be diving to this rock here, the zipper, and taking some damage. Damage is good.
Yeah, because we're going to be in Sealed Grounds next, and again, wanted to do Back in Time, and doing Back in Time in Sealed Grounds, you have to get hurt 3 times.
Yeah.
And there's no wind vents yet, so you can fall twice, and then to do it a 3rd time, you have to, like, run all the way up another full circle.
Basically,
it takes a while. And there's a rock here we can get free fall damage, might as well.
So yeah, in all of that setup, we'll see, I guess, what that does here in just a minute. Be sitting at the statue and dying once again.
Mm-hmm. See, right now we are on file 2, but we're going to use it for back in time purposes, but for the next, like, half hour or so, we're actually going to be playing on file 3. Because the whole point of everything we're doing is to get to Lanayru, because Lanayru is where the final, like, game-breaking trick is located, and to get there, you kind of just have to respect the game's progression. Do the first dungeon. Yeah, do the first dungeon, get its tablet. Do the second dungeon, get its tablet, which gives you access to Lanayru. Gonna be doing it all the wrong ways, but still have to, like, do that basic idea.
But basically, yeah, we're just completing the first 2 dungeons as fast as possible.
Alright. we saved file 3 at that statue because we're going to eventually warp into the first dungeon, and it turns out that the coordinates for that statue are quite useful. It puts you like basically all the way to the end. So if we save there and we warp with that file, we'll have those coordinates and just spawn right at the end.
Yeah, so it's like the same trick as the beginning with warping into the sky, except this time we're going to be going into the first dungeon, Skyview Temple, and we're going to be selecting that file, which will apply the coordinates of that statue.
And welcome raiders from ZSR2. This is the losers bracket round in the WingClash any% tournament for Skyward Sword. Pippy versus Zeldz. Just in time for one of the major, like this is one of the longer instances of back in time, but it's also one of the most important or impressive or whatever. Because we're basically skipping the entire Farron Woods segment.
Yeah, normally here we'd have to do some stuff, talk to Impa, talk to all the Kikwees, get the slingshot and all that stuff.
Yeah, so this log here,
we're just gonna be walking right through.
This log here, that's the whole reason we talked to Fledge at the start. Because Fledge, back in time is kind of complicated with how it works. So by selecting one of the files, it loads in the data, but this file is saved on Skyloft, so it has this array of 128 values that are specific to Skyloft.
Yeah.
That are called scene flags, and one of those flags was for talking to Fledge, and the game will load this flag into Farron Woods. So Farron Woods will see that this flag is set, but that flag in the Farron Woods registry is that log, this log here in Sealed Grounds being down. So it just puts the log down for you. And
yeah, so basically it's trying to load you as if you're going to be in Skyloft. Since we're in Farron, it does something completely seemingly unrelated. Gonna be setting our coordinates here at this statue for later.
Well, it's not really the coordinates that are important. We just want to save.
That's true. Yeah.
Save so that we can respawn with file 1. Right. And file 1 has like the story progression. Because right now we're on a state of Farron Woods that you're not really supposed to be at, called Layer 0. It's like the base configuration that everything else is built upon.
Yeah, so everything here, if I understand correctly, everything here is in every other layer. That's why it's all the default stuff, basically.
Yeah, and then by dying, we're gonna load with the intended layer, and it has this vine coming up. And another thing we did earlier when we entered and exited the house, that flag corresponds to having this vine down. So normally you're expected to go get the slingshot by talking to Kikwees and use that to shoot this down, but we'll bypass with that simple flag. File 3 Zelds.
Yeah.
There we go.
Told me he hasn't really been playing a whole lot, so he's probably just having a bit of trouble remembering the route and stuff.
Yeah, but so when we enter here, we're like kind of juggling our files around, but the point is that this cutscene here, or rather the little teleport there, where the little teleport there with the crystal, that's the reason that we saved the remlet early on, because the value in memory for that corresponds to having struck those crystals above the door. And so by starting our file and then skipping the cutscene associated with entering Skyview the first time, puts file 3 into Skyview with the coordinates that it's saved at. And again, file 3 was saved in the Upper Academy statue, so we end up mostly at the end.
Yeah, so that skips most of the dungeon, including getting the dungeon item, which is the beetle. We don't get any of the B-Wheel items in this run.
In fact, if you skip the slingshot, you can't get any other items because the game will like soft lock because you don't have the B wheel, so you don't like have the ability to possess the items yet.
Yeah, because having the ability to open the B wheel in the first place is tied to collecting the slingshot.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but I guess they didn't want you to be able to mess around with an empty B wheel, because that's a thing you can do in like the randomizer, for instance. You're gonna be saving for safety here because if you die to gear him, you would end up all the way back in sealed grounds, and you have to redo that.
Since we didn't enter legitimately, quote unquote, there's no. Our respawn location hasn't been updated since sealed grounds, so it'd be sent all the way back there and have to basically redo everything that we just did all over again. So
yeah,
sitting there just makes it so that if we die in the boss fight, we'll just spawn right in front of the boss.
Yeah, and you're supposed to use the beetle to cut down the thread that spider was on, but if you hit it with the Skyward strike, you can knock it out of the way and then just jump past. You're also supposed to use some projectile, like the slingshot or the beetle, to knock down these vines, but Skyward strikes will work. That's another perk of being on hero mode. You have the power of the Skyward strike as though you had the true Master Sword at the end of the game.
Yeah. Which also means it reaches further.
Yeah, it reaches a lot further. Here's a boss key. Conveniently right next
backwards
to it.
Across the ropes. Saves just a little bit of time. Oh.
It's faster to go backwards than to like climb up with the vines that are there and go back across the tightrope.
A few extra swings. Pretty good.
Yeah, if we had the opportunity to pick and choose our items, we'd probably go get the bomb bag, because it would skip having to do an RBM later on, but unfortunately...
Oh, for blowing up the box.
Yeah. But yeah, H. This boss key just happens to look like the letter H. And so will the next one, it'll look like another letter.
And here's our first boss fight. Hear him himself. Very scary. Demon Lord.
Ooh. So a lot of this fight is luck based because there's different actions that Girahim can perform, and they depend on randomness, and some of them are faster than others, but Zeldz had a good start because he got that jump slash in, but he's also... You really don't want Girahim to spawn those darts because you have to swat them away, and if they're vertical, when you swat them away, he'll jump away, and it's like you can't get an attack in.
Oh, there's another one.
Yeah, it seems like his RNG started out fine, but then kind of just got worse.
Overall, not too bad. As long as you don't get more than, like, 2 of those, it's usually not too slow.
I think Zelda ended up with 4, but...
4? Well, a couple of those were, like, horizontal. I was talking about the vertical ones, I guess. But yeah.
We'll see if Pippi can get better RNG and catch up. This is interesting. I've never seen somebody hold the sword to the left first. We're also skipping this heart container because we're playing on file 3 for right now, but we're going to finish the run on file 1, so it doesn't really help. And even if you got the heart container, even if you got to keep it, there's not really a good place to heal it up without losing more time. And it's, if you're got practice with the end of the run, it's definitely a lot easier than it used to be, so... Yeah. Yeah, as a reward for completing the dungeon, we get the ruby tablet, which will give us access to Eldin, next region. Oh, looks like Pippi's going to pick it up for safety, which is fair. Does
it help in Eldin?
Yeah, so you'll have an extra heart for the out of bounds portion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, normally after this dungeon, there's like a cutscene with a Kikwi, and then you go fly out and put the tablet in. But
yeah, instead we're just gonna go there through back in time because we're already on Skyloft. So
yeah, and so earlier on we did a reverse speed warp to the sky to get a special file. Then we reverse speed warped into the sky view. Now we're just gonna do a simple reverse speed warp into the goddess statue, because as part of our little like fair and escape thing at the start, we skipped grabbing the tunic, which normally would happen after you place the emerald tablet.
Yeah,
you get like
I believe that was specifically to like avoid crashing the sky, right?
Well, I think it's just. I mean, you have to have at least one file that doesn't have the tunic to avoid crashing, but it's also just the order of events just doesn't line up well because like if we, for example, put in the emerald tablet on our regular file and like the first back in time, then we're at the point where the game expects you to go fly on your Loftwing and go to Farron, but we haven't saved our Loftwing and now we can't, so we'd be locked out of it.
So you just want to prevent it from.
But yeah.
Setting that straight progression.
Now, because we hadn't gotten the tunic yet, after placing the ruby tablet, we get the tunic, and you might have even seen for a split second there.
Interesting cutscene. Yeah.
Yeah. You save and then reset. So now file 3 has the tunic and got a health refill. And we'll do back in time again for one final reverse bit warp, this time into the Eldin region, because back in time is kind of prone to crashing if the wrong like situations happen. Like if you pull up the map, it'll crash. If you go on the wrong layer in some places, it'll crash. But some places are also just too big. They take up too much memory with back in time. And Eldin is one of those places, so we're going to just go as far as we can and warp into Eldin with some good coordinates. But we can't like enter Eldin back in time to like reverse warp into Earth Temple or anything.
Yeah, but we're still going to be using back in time to enter Eldin in a specific way that is beneficial.
Yeah, so first we're going to get into Farron. Yeah, oh, file 3?
It's file 2 because file 3 has the tunic, and the tunic makes the Baba's spine.
Yeah, I thought you said file. I thought you said file 3. I mean, file 3 technically does work, but it's like a little bit slower.
Just a little bit, because you have to dodge the Babas.
Ah, no, I didn't renew my gym sub.
Oh, he entered on the wrong file. Oops.
Yeah, so this one,
file 3. So again, we have to avoid entering on a file that has the tunic. So just
because in this behind the temple area, when you have the tunic, the game tries to play the event where there's these bokoblins attacking this Goron, outside the statue, but we just want to be able to save at the statue and fly out, and on that area you can't do that. So just saving here and then flying back out because, like I said, we want to end up in Eldin. Now that I think about it, unfortunately, you won't really be seeing Bruce anymore. There was just that one cutscene at the start.
Yeah. There's no Bruce used to be in this run.
Bruce used to be an important part of the run. But
yeah. Now we're gonna be diving into here. This zipper here. We're gonna be calling the Loftwing into it, and it's gonna kind of give us a lot of speed. So then we just kind of end up right at the end. Eldin Pillar. Just a couple seconds. Just like that.
And now we're
since
up
we
here,
did the RBW, we just kind of spawn over here on top of the volcano, and we can just climb all the way up where Earth Temple is.
Yeah, now just in time to promote Tears of the Kingdom, here's the Breath of the Wild trailer. Yeah, by spawning out here, there's a bunch of
exploration.
There's a bunch of out of bounds collision that we can just simply run up because there's a lot of obstacles in the main volcano. You have to go get digging mitts and stuff, but we don't need any of that. So if we just run all the way up to the top, we can jump back down to where the Earth Temple door is.
There we go. Oh. Okay.
Right, good save.
Very easy to accidentally slip down and just fall into the lava right there.
Yeah, and then if you're
just
not
barely
careful,
keep his feet there.
Yeah, and if you're not careful with your stamina, you can sometimes run out. But you just jump down here, and now at this point we want to take at least some damage. There we go.
That was interesting, but it works.
Safely made it up to the statue. So again, normally the game wants you to go find some pieces of a key that have been spread around some dig spots, but one, we skipped the digging mitts, and two, that's slow, so we're gonna do something else.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh,
this is why she grabbed the safety health.
Yeah, so since she grabbed the extra heart container, she can take one extra hit here.
There we go.
Just barely making that. Nice.
Alright, so this next back in time,
entering this house here. We're gonna sleep in the bed to make it nighttime. There's a specific flag that we want. The event can only happen when Skyloft is night.
Right, yeah, so there's this gravestone that you can push to open the path to Petro's house. And the value in memory for this happens to be the same one as the Earth Temple door being open. So,
yeah, so since we're in front of it, it just kind of sucks us in, and now we're inside Earth Temple. And some camera manipulation here, just a bit of a more favorable platform cycle. Looks like he messed it up just a little bit.
You could technically have jumped on those, but sometimes it's finicky and it'll throw you off the edge for.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, there's a trick here he's gonna do. You have to cut all 3 of these ropes to lower the bridge. This keys is kind of bothering him. Should be fine. But he's actually gonna use that key since we don't have the beetle to cut that rope up on the side there. We have to use this keys to target it and angle our Skyward Strike up at an angle to hit the rope.
Ooh, that was close.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for
get the Skyward Strike in there.
For a while, this trick was considered a TAS optimization for like the older RBM any % route, but we found a good setup. Yeah, it looks like maybe he was angled slightly, slightly too far to the, slightly too close to the wall, probably. But now the runners are on mostly, now the runners are on mostly equal footing, so it's good for Pippy to get a chance.
And Zeldz has to re-enter now. So
the one thing is Pippy will have to be careful to not be attacked by a Keese because she's only on 1 heart because of the safety health, and the Keese will do 1 heart of damage. And sometimes they're mean.
Yeah, normally you can take 1 hit from a Keese here, but like that one just chasing Zeldz. Sometimes they just don't leave you alone.
Ooh, the diagonal method. I know Pippy's kind of... I've seen Pippy do that quite a lot, but usually when I try it diagonally, it just goes wherever it wants to. Well, so yeah, because of this, we now have a lead flip, and Pippy's now in the lead. Sometimes this trick is mean like that. Ooh, that one might have been too far. That one might have been too far to the right.
Yeah, it definitely looks clear to me.
Careful.
He's just having some trouble charging
Yikes.
it. Oh, did she die?
Yeah. At least the door's already open, or the bridge is already open.
So since the drawbridge is already open, she just has to run through this room again.
Yeah, I always say it's almost like bad RNG to not be attacked by Los Alphas, because if you're attacked, you just like backflip and then swat it away, and then it's fine. But if it doesn't attack you, it probably will attack you later, and you have to
then you don't know what's gonna happen, and you just have to guess.
But yeah, now, again using the Skyward Strike as a substitute for another projectile.
He's just kind of ran away from him there. Let's wait for him to come back around. If you're just making it to the center, we're gonna save this. Oh, yeah, take damage. Then we're gonna save the statue and do some more back in time stuff.
Yeah, because normally in this dungeon you have to go grab the bomb bag and then go along this secret path on the right side to access the second peg on the bridge. Oh, yikes.
Zeldz killed it.
Feels bad. But yeah, even if we did have the bomb bag, we wouldn't be able to do that segment because we don't have the beetle, and you're supposed to use it to like cut some ropes on the other side.
Yeah, it opens in a different gate. So instead, we're gonna raise it with back in time shenanigans.
Oh yeah, and as part of this RVM, we're going to try to not get off the splash screen because we want to enter the academy specifically with like a blank file. because any other file would have too much story progress to have this text with pivot here, which has the flag of interest.
This is like right at the beginning of the game, basically, right?
Uh-huh.
Like as if you just walked out of Link's room. But if you open the title screen there, then it
it'll
takes
load
your flags from file 3.
Yeah, and then now you're stuck with file 1, 2, or 3. Which you can successfully enter the academy like without crashing, but
how did that
you'll have the wrong. Unfortunately, sometimes this trick is really can make or break the run.
On this slope here, normally we're supposed to, there's a ramp on the side, and we're supposed to throw a bomb to open a little alcove that we can hide in to avoid the boulders. But there's also a technique that we can do, it's called stutter sprinting, where we just press A over and over again to repeatedly sprint up the slope, and it saves, it slows down your use of the stamina. So you can just kind of make it all the way up the slope without ever having to open up the alcove there.
Yep. And here's the boss key, this one.
The dragon. Oh.
Yeah. D for dragon. It'll make more sense when you see the keyhole. In its basic geometric form, it's kind of hard to see, but...
Taking a safety save before... This boss fight is a little bit finicky, so it's a pretty good choice.
Yeah. The alternative is you go all the way back to, like, the center room, and then you have to run through that portion again.
D.
Ah, really? That one must have also been too close to the wall. Because I believe the wall is probably closer than the rope is, so if it touches the wall and gets destroyed, then it won't.
A lot of these attempts are close, but just unfortunate.
No cigar.
Now we see this guy that we beat up earlier. And he's gonna send his minion after us. He just so happens to look like a certain Italian delicacy.
Yeah.
You might see a plate of spaghetti.
That happens to have a certain culinary eating to it. Yeah, also taking some free damage while we wait for Scaldera to follow us up. So, we don't have bombs, and you're supposed to use the bomb bag to take this guy down. But fortunately, to prevent soft locks, the game will put some bomb flowers at the top. that you can refill, but you can also just roll them down. It
should be fine as long as she doesn't take damage on
Yeah, she'll have to either just wait for him to come down normally or do the damageless thing, but damageless thing is kind of risky because you could get the weird soft block where he jumps into the lava.
Yeah, most likely she'll just try and just let him go on top. Just rocks over us, wait for the bottom.
Yeah, because they'll just run into the bomb flowers and fall down.
He's good.
There we go. Meatball's defeated. Uh-oh, and so is Zeldz.
Spicy meatball.
Seems to be having
burned meatball.
Not quite the best luck with its keys.
Yeah, it keeps doing. It's kind of weird. It, like, keeps running away from him and stuff.
Come on. Yeah, it's like, if you lose the keys' attention once, it'll go back to its loop and it takes forever to get close enough again.
It just seems to be...
Yeah, no, it's being very aggressive.
Yeah, it's attacking very quickly and just generally not giving him very good positions.
There we go.
There we go, finally. Really bad RNG, for a lot of that.
Quite unfortunate for Zeldz, but this is a best of 3 set, so even if he's unable to win this one, more chances.
Pippy here saving inside of Earth Temple because we want some of the flags here that we've set in Earth Temple. We're going to be collecting this rupee because that loads in our inventory. So it will tell the game that we do in fact have the Amber Tablet.
Yep.
Now we're here back in time, opening the pillar, and we're gonna do the exact same thing that we did at the very beginning with the Farron pillar. Except this time it's linear pillar.
Yeah, and finally we're gonna go back to file 1. So file 3 got the progression that we needed, but file 1 at this point I say can do it on its own, but it's really needs the other files for back in time stuff. But the point is, it's now ready to beat the game just by going to Linear. And we get this text again, because when you originally got this, it was on file 2. So technically we haven't seen it in the game's eyes.
And then it's going to tell us that we are in the sky.
Yeah, that is a little bit strange. But now here's the desert.
So now we're finally in Linear after doing the first 2 dungeons. We're actually just gonna die and do back in time again.
Yep.
This is probably one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, and it's actually one of the oldest tricks, because even back before we knew about reverse spin magic and the run was like 5 hours long, it was useful to be able to do this out of bounds section because it reduced backtracking later on and skipped the entire mines in the process. But anyway, shockingly, this is the first time we're seeing an actual like regular bit warp in this speedrun. But yeah, previously when we did reverse,
one of the simplest back in time tricks to perform, at least.
Yeah, previously we did reverse bit warps, which is where you had a file saved and you entered somewhere in back in time. But now if you save and start your file on back in time, you'll end up where you're saved at with the coordinates of the statue.
Yeah, so now we're just on top of Linear, and we can just go wherever we want, basically.
Yeah,
we're going to use this to go in the back way to get into the Linear Gorge, where Thunder Dragon is.
Yep. Yeah, because normally there's like a path of claw shot targets you could use to get over there, but it just so happens it's also open from above, so you can jump down from out here.
Finally here. It's just there's those targets he was talking about. And now we're just in the cave. We're just gonna head out to Gorge. It's gonna look kind of weird though.
Alright, I'm gonna need to step away for a bit. But
alright. Since you know, we're not supposed to be here. The story progression is not how it's intended to be, so this area is just kind of empty because we're on layer 0. We're gonna do our best with the situation. We're gonna do some back in time stuff to be able to progress. There's a lot of back in time here at the end of the run. first, we're just going to save on file 2. What that does is it updates the flag that says you've checked this statue, which also loads in our other story flags. So basically that grants us the ability to actually call our loft wing when we jump off the edge here, which is kind of important. Did that a couple other times during the run, but kind of glossed over it, and we do it like 5 times right here, so worth mentioning. And back to Farron again. This time we're heading in on file 3, which has the tunic. So that means the layer is going to be updated. So we're going to have to dodge a couple Ikebabas here, which isn't too hard. But, contrary to earlier in the run where it was empty. Going to be entering here on file 3 with the tunic. So that means we have the Goron here. What that also means is when we select this file, it starts that cutscene. During that cutscene, there's a flag that's set on every single frame. So as long as you start the file during that cutscene, that gives us the flag that we want. And there's a rock during the minecart escort that flag corresponds to. So the game is now going to think that we blew up that rock that we just saw in the distance over there just blow up. And the reason we blew up that other rock that was kind of close to the safe statue, it's called a file commit, or a flag commit, where we changed something about the environment, scene flag, and that allows the game to load in other scene flags that have been updated back in time. So, like when we did the RBM, it won't remember that we did the RBM until something happens. And that something is blowing up the rock. We're doing the same thing. We can call our loft wing here. Just diving again into Farron. And once again, entering file 3. This time, we're gonna do something just a little bit different. That's these guys again. And we're gonna not enter with file 3 because we don't want the Goron to be there, and we want the gate to be open. Heading back into the main Farron Woods area. And when we came through here earlier, the Kikwi just kind of wasn't there. But since we entered on this file will allow it to load in Machi here. We're going to be rescuing Machi. Gotta kill these Bokoblins here. And the flag that we want is just his very first text box here. So we're going to start the file and close the text box at the same time. And we're going to do another flag commit here. But since the rock is already blown up, we have to do something else. So instead, we run over here. And there's just kind of a rupee here if you bonk into this pillar. So, yeah, that's how we commit our flag. Because you can only collect that rupee once, so it's a scene flag. And that flag, or the Machi flag that we just set, that will make the game think basically that we are in the minecart escort sequence, but it will set it to respawn at the very end of the escort. So we're skipping like 90% of all of the minecart escort right here. So now that we've set both of those things, that allows us to complete the escort. Now we're doing another bit warp. Because even though the minecart is set to spawn at the end of the sequence there, we have to get there first, and we're going to do that by warping out of bounds again. Just like that. I'm going to be running along this big wall here. There is a lot of out-of-bounds collision in the Linearu. It extends out very far, where you can just kind of run out of bounds here. But it does eventually end, and it ends right here, right where we need to go. But fortunately, we can kind of just barely get a weird-looking jump right off the edge of the collision here, and grab that ledge that's above us. So it's pretty precise and kind of annoying. Runners usually call it stupid jump or jank jump. But yeah, luckily you can just barely reach that ledge there, and that allows us to get around despite there just not being collision there. We're going to come around over here. Now that we're over here, we're actually right next to where the minecart is supposed to spawn. You just need to get over close to the door by doing a trick called a brake slide, where you can conserve a lot of your speed through the sand by holding a specific position on the joystick and targeting. But yeah, so now we've waited out, we've respawned the minecart to be right here, and so yeah, that's it. The rock is gone because we did the RBM, and now we just have to wait for it to make it to the end. Yeah, your movement here doesn't really matter, because you're just waiting for the minecart to make it to this center pedestal here. Just going for the damage string, that's okay. So we're going to save now that it's at the center, so that it will remember that it's at the center. And also that sets a flag that we're going to use in Back in Time. So this is the last time we're going to be doing back in time for the entire run. One last RBM. Saving and some of the same stuff here. And make it back to Farron one last time. Now, this is going to look kind of a little bit similar to what we did like the first time we were in Farron. Except this time it's for a different reason. We're not trying to get into Skyview. We're going to use the Skyview door opening to set a flag. That's our RBM. Gonna die just to reload the area, to load in our flags. One of the flag that we need right now is the minecart. So we just loaded in that minecart that we just set at its pedestal. Except instead of the minecart, that flag will set the rope to be down, the same one that we used at the beginning. Instead of using a flag from Skyloft, we're using a flag from Lanayru Gorge, which is the minecart. Alright, we're just gonna skip this cutscene. We're gonna start the file right before the door starts to open. And that sets our flag. So, and what that flag does here is it actually brings the Thunder Dragon to life. So that, you know, normally you would have to get the life fruit seedling and all that, go and grow it, and then come back and deliver it. Instead, he's just kind of alive now. Now that he is alive, what that means for us, what that allows us to do, is we can access the boss rush minigame. And that's important because now we can fight Girahim 3 in the boss rush. And it is just a minigame, but we're going to be doing something interesting. See here in just a moment after all this text. I'm gonna gear him down here. And then we're just gonna wait. And this seems kind of weird, but you'll see why in just a second. We're gonna wait to drop down here. And what that does is we're manipulating the platform to move directly horizontal. And what that means is since the platform didn't move back up at all, Girahim is now lower than he was before. And what that means is there's a void plane beneath Girahim. So that if you fall off the platform, it voids you out and respawns you. But that moves with Girahim, moves depending on where Girahim is. So by lowering the platform and Girahim like this, we're actually also lowering that void plane. Then we can fall further down without having it respawn us back at the very top. Backup strat. Cool. Alright, so now that we're down here, we're actually low enough that we can jump out of bounds here, and we can reach this statue. And we can save at the statue and reload. And what this does is, so we were just in the boss rush minigame, but since we save and quit in the arena with the boss fight active and reload the area like this, eventually it'll load. There we go. Now we are actually in the actual boss fight. We are at the end of the game now. Then you can do this weird little slide thing to get out, because you're just kind of trapped in the corner there. And then there's this really weird looking clip on this fence. We're just gonna hop through it. If I could angle, that should work. There we go. Yeah, we're in the actual boss fight now, but we're kind of stuck at the bottom below the void plane. So we're gonna run up to the void plane, and doing that, voiding out, will bring Girahim to us. So the void plane should be right here. Hit it. And now Girahim is just right here in front of us. And now you can't really knock him off here. If he lands on the ground, then you can't hit him, because if he's on the ground and you try and stab him, then the game actually just crashes. But what you can do is you can just barely kind of angle him, hit him over the fence here. And then you come back here to get a bunch of speed off of the ending blow, and it just jumps over the fence. And now we're here, we can just complete the rest of the fight pretty much as, well, mostly as normal. You can see he's kind of just sliding there. But yeah. It's because she's hanging on the edge there as the platform is trying to respawn. Yeah, that's that. So, what just happened is we went from Lanayru into the past, and now we're at the final boss fight. I think that's crazy. By the way, the lowering the platform thing to get down to the statue was actually discovered by Yao, who had to step away. But yeah, that was it. risky fight strats here. She's only at half part because she went for the risky damage strats. That's phase 2 done. Now, since we only have the Goddess Sword here, you probably noticed during phase 2 we had to hit him kind of a lot. Normally, you would have the True Master Sword here, which does quite a bit more damage than the Goddess Sword. So that phase lasted quite a bit, so does this one. Normally, with the True Master Sword, you only have to hit him twice here. The Goddess Sword, you have to hit him 8 times. And that's number 8. And now we just have the final boss fight, Demise. Despite being the final boss, Demise is one of the... Well, he's basically the most consistent boss fight in the whole game, to the point where some people have learned to do it blindfolded. Because there's no RNG in this fight. It can all be manipulated. There we go. Got the stun lock on in there. Struggling to get our stun lock started here, but got the first one at least. We have to do that 3 times. There's 2. Did a extra backflip there. Oh, and taking a death. That's unfortunate. Looks like Zeldz is still just on his way to wake up the Thunder Dragon, though. So we do still have... Pippi does have quite the lead here. So unless she dies a few more times, he should be fine. I can imagine she's just nervous at the end of a run. I definitely feel that. Yeah, that's... The end of a run in general is kind of stressful. Yeah. I imagine she has the stream open or something, so she at least knows what's going on. There we go, there's that backflip. Alright, there we go. Now we're on to phase 2. Getting a lightning here. And that's time. GG's Pippi. Oh, I think Zeldz crashed in back in time. I think he messed up the file that he entered on or something and was trying to fix it, that ended up crashing. Yeah, GG's Pippi. 123.02. Very good time for a race. This is a best of 3, so I guess Zeldz is gonna finish up his run here, or not. Fine too, I guess. But yeah, we do have at least one more game here, so stick around.
Hello.
Jeez.
Hey guys.
I've not messed up key seat that badly in a while, and then I just completely forgot about file. Or I was thinking of the Elden RBW right there at the end. And
Yeah,
then
I saw you tried to exit and maybe crashed or something.
Yeah, I crashed because I forgot I had file 3 selected there by accident. And Sky on file 3 crashes, so.
Nice. Well, GG's Pippi for your first run.
Thank you.
Oh,
Only
okay.
game 1 though.
I guess we're only doing game 1 today, so yeah.
Yeah, we were planning on looking at
time.
same time next week if available to do.
Alright, cool.
Game 2, game 3.
Yeah.
I would like to point out though, I didn't get the heart container for safety. I got it by accident.
Nice. Well, it worked out.
It did. Just need everyone to know that I am incompetent. Yeah, unfortunate key seat. Archibald was not feeling very kind today, apparently.
Yeah, that was painful to watch. He was very aggressive.
I know it was very much a skill issue, but I will be honest, I've not had RNG that bad, ever.
Well, yeah, like, some of those could have worked if he had charged a little bit faster, but also he was just attacking very fast in general.
Yeah. And then he killed me, and then I died.
Really, I'm sorry, but it was somewhat entertaining to watch.
Oh, don't worry, I was entertaining myself as well.
Hey, we're here to have fun, right?
Yeah.
As long as it's fun. And,
Something I realized, though. I thought I had a sub 115 sob, but maybe it wasn't on these splits. I don't know. Let's see.
Did you have to save?
Yeah, I forgot to save my splits. Or
Nice.
No, my computer crashed once, and I think that's what happened.
oh no!
It's fine. I'm 5 minutes off of a sub, or sorry, 5 seconds off of a sub 115 sob.
Just gotta go do a run back, get that sub 115.
Yeah. Get salty.
If I'm being honest, I'm probably gonna go grind stuff for 602 or something.
Still, my sum of best is like 4 minutes faster than my PB, and I'm not okay with this. I'm not okay with this level of consistency, and I would like to bury myself.
You're getting consistent. You are getting consistent 123s, which means you're very consistent.
Just not fast enough. Gotta be faster. I'll get there eventually.
Next run, you're getting world record. You're gonna be the first with a 105.
I mean, if you do enough runs, it has to happen eventually, right?
Eventually.
Yeah, I mean, it has to happen eventually.
Also, the general rule is the second that my last PB gets approved, immediately I PB again. So I feel really bad for wasting everybody's time. So that's just what I'm waiting on at this point.
Just wait for it to be verified, and then I can do runs.
Yeah. Yeah, all of the runs until then are cursed. But yeah, outside of Scaldera was awful and missed Wing Ceremony cutscene skip, which crying.
Yeah.
But outside of that, like,
I mean, at least you killed Scaldera. That doesn't always happen for everybody. So
after I learned
Butterball.
I learned why, like with the timer, like I was a little bit worried this time because of the combos I got, but it wasn't actually that bad because it doesn't matter about the combos as much. It matters just as long as on the final phase you hit him quick enough. So just be quick. Like, for example, I messed up all my combos. I'm gonna blame that. I'm gonna blame that on Rock RNG because my sword kept ricocheting off of him. But I mean, I killed him in 5 phases. But yeah. I didn't soft lock, which is good.
No soft locks on Scaldera is about all I can ask.
Also,
honestly.
I did the same thing as once before, and when I saved at Mine's entry, I started doing Rock RBM, and then when I got to Sealed Grounds, I realized, I
wasn't paying attention at that point, so I didn't realize that.
In my race against Firework, I think it was, I did that. Except I did the RBM completely. And then I'm like, why am I here?
I've done that before, except I did the Rock RBM, and then I forgot to commit it. And so I thought it just didn't work for some reason. So I was like, that's weird. So I just did the entire Rock RBM all over again, but I didn't need to.
Yeah. When I always mess up is just like, I do it when I'm not supposed to. And I was having trouble remembering the route today.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Maybe if you practice, that would help. Zeldz.
Practice is for the weak.
I mean, it's funny that I didn't get Wing Ceremony cutscene skip because so I have like muscle fatigue problems, which was why I asked to postpone the raid initially because they were acting up, and I was like, when my muscles are being bad, I typically cannot get Wing Ceremony cutscene skip.
I mean, that makes sense.
I didn't get it anyway. Like, I messed it up anyway. And I was like, good.
My early game was actually okay. I got cutscene skip and my movement was okay.
Hey, you were on PB base for a bit.
Yeah, I
your first split.
I golded by 3 seconds.
Nice.
Because of a slow way.
Gold's a gold.
Alright.
So, yeah.
Well, unfortunately, I had to miss, like, pretty much all of the end, but... How did the ending go for... It looks like Zeldz forfeited, but...
Yeah, unfortunate key seat.
Yeah, I was there for that. That was...
Unfortunate key seat ate a run.
Yeah, it ate away 13 minutes of my run. Or was it 14? I don't remember.
It's a classic. Always gotta lose runs to key seat.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess the only thing I'll practice is key C8.
The only thing you'll practice?
Only thing.
Okay.
I expect you to be grinding it.
I will be grinding it 24 hours a day.
6 hours a day. Oh, 24.
6 hours a day. Or, yeah, 24.
No sleep.
I won't stop doing key seat. I will do key seat, press the reset button, do key seat, press the reset button, until our next race.
You need to become one yeet man. Like One Punch Man. But
just yeet the rope instead of the keys.
And then...
Or just yeet myself.
Hey, I was having a terrible time on my warm-up runs. That just I was having horrible, keys RNG, and kept, trying to do things that just weren't gonna work. Because it was taking forever to get a setup that works, and I was like, oh, this better not be indicative of the actual race run. And then, you know what? I guess I got out the bad RNG early because I got to the actual race run and second lineup. I was like, all right, take it. Goodbye. Take that tiny bit of time save.
But yeah, GG's Pippy. I look forward to our next race.
Yep.
Maybe next time we can actually have a closer race.
I would love to have a closer race. I think we can have a much closer race.
We can if I actually practice key seat.
You practice key seat. I'm just gonna practice consistency on literally everything and not being a dump. So
yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
Practice is always good.
Yeah, thank you.
Alright, let me add my GGs as well. Looking forward to Game 2 next week. That is the plan.
That is
That
indeed.
will be it for us here on ZSR tonight. So if you have not followed our runners, please go fix that mistake right now. Both Zeldz and PippyinaTopHat, as well as our commentators today, Andy and Yao, appreciate you both. Any final thoughts before we head on out for the night?
Keys are rude.
Yeah.
Yeah, keys are rude, and I murdered a poor guava today.
How
Oh,
dare.
no.
Yeah. My condolences. But yeah. GG's to both.
No, go ahead. Alright, just please keep an eye on the ZSR schedule. Lots coming up in the next week or two. Also, some tiny little indie company, Nintendo, never heard of them, releasing this indie game, Tears of the Kingdom, in a few weeks. Anyone ever heard of that?
No.
Nah, it can't be.
It's news
Nah.
to me.
No.
Has to be a myth. But
Yeah, it's a myth.
Keep an eye out for that. I have a funny feeling we're going to see that on ZSR here sooner rather than later, just because no one's ever seen this before. So, until next time, everyone stay safe out there. Appreciate you all. We will see you back here again soon. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye, lovely folks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.